going to connect to all the places. All those places will get the stream. I'm assuming it's there now. It typically takes around 10 seconds. So I want to welcome you all, and we're live back to episode 4 of season 5 of the Level Up Your Wealth podcast, where we talk about the gaming industry from a business perspective. I'm one of your hosts, Marcus Howard. Mario, please introduce yourself. And Irina, we can't wait to speak to you.
Yeah. Beautiful Jacksonville, Florida. My throat and my voice is almost gone from InvestFest, but I am here though.
Excellent. That was last weekend, wasn't it, in Atlanta?
Am I here?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, hot Atlanta.
So Mario,
hot Atlanta.
Are you back from Atlanta, right? You're in Jacksonville, back from Atlanta?
Yes, I am back. Back and better than ever.
All right. And Irina, I'm sorry. We're so thrilled to speak with you here and learn about everything that you're doing, and talk about pro social games. We want to learn what that is, why it's important, and just hear about your journey in the gaming industry. So if you don't mind, please introduce yourself.
Oh, for sure. And thank you, Mario and Marcus, so much for having me. I've been stoked. We've talked about doing this episode for a while, and the fact that we're finally here, it's like score. So grateful, and for the times that we've met, and we've always like truly resonated, especially just around gaming and the things that are important to us. But the short story is that I've been working in games for 25 years. I spent the first half of my career working in MMOs, massively multiplayer online games. And those games were known for some of the most incredible engagement numbers, but also, smaller, tighter overall numbers, but very, very strong communities that drove lifelong friendships. In fact, I have friends of mine that I've been close friends with for 25 years because of an MMO that I played when I was young, and spawned off, also marriages and families. And there was a point in my career where I got to work for a baseball player on a video game called Kingdoms of Amalur, and they relocated me out here where I am now, on the East Coast. I'm in Rhode Island. It's a real place. It's not made up, I swear. And we wanted to work and make the greatest game of all time, and it was another MMO, and that company actually spectacularly failed, as did the entire MMO industry. I don't think that there's been like an MMO to that scale ever released since then, though there have been some out of the Asian market. But from that point, I actually was on maternity leave when the company went bankrupt. And so I picked up some work. I learned how to form my own small business. I became an entrepreneur. I built a photography business, and built up a strong clientele and a brand here in Rhode Island. And I thought that would be a great education for getting back into games and becoming an executive. And I've worked on mobile games as well. I've worked on games like Game of Thrones Conquest, as well as another game that recently released called Monopoly Go. And prior,
little game Monopoly Go.
Just a little game. I was there for a very short time, but I had a very impactful role, and the game has done very well. I'm really proud of the team and the work that they've accomplished, and the size, the sheer size of that product, and how the marketplace has just welcomed it. But that experience in mobile games made me realize that there's so much opportunity there, but the games that we make in mobile just don't quite cut it as games. And so not just because of that reason, but that is one of many, we formed Unleashed Games, myself and my co-founders, who are deep fans of MMO and social games. And we wanted to make a company that made games that bring people together. And what we mean by that is creating games that are like at their core inclusive, so that more people are represented in that game than just the standard representation in games. But also the by pro-social, what we mean is that we wanted to make gameplay loops that actually help encourage people to form better relationships with the people that they play with. We wanted to make a relationship or a friendship engine, because we can, and we have before, because we worked on World of Warcraft, and that game made friendships out of thin air with people from opposite sides of the globe, and we know that we can replicate that experience, and we're doing that. So we last year we started fundraising for Unleashed, and we were able to raise about $1.3 million in pre-seed investment. And we use that to build a prototype, which now we're using to fundraise some more, which is like a never-ending hamster wheel of startup life.
There's so much to dig into there. I remember playing Kingdoms of Amalur, and I think that was my sister's favorite game.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
many moons ago. So speaking, we're going to get into all that, but speaking of games, it's a tradition here that we play a game here on the podcast. So we would like to have you compete against Mario in a 1v1 of the classic, timeless classic, rock, paper, scissors, the digital version. So we're going to go ahead and get that loaded up. Mario, if you don't mind sharing your screen, and then I'll bring that up here. So you'll play against Mario. It's a 1st to 5. It takes a minute or 2 to play. Very quick match.
Let's do this. I am ambitious at rock, paper, scissors. Let's go.
There apparently is an art form of playing this rock, paper, scissors.
Watch me get owned. Just destroy me, Mario. Let's go. Okay, so how do I join in specifically?
Oh, no. I was wondering.
So if you go to on your computer, click on the link, go to quick match. It will connect you directly to Mario.
On it. Is that us?
Yep. So the two of you are matched up. So 1st to 5. Let's see. Let's go.
I'll let you go. Okay, cool.
Oh, damn. It feels different not actually using my hands. Oh, you're destroying me.
My youngest son is 2, and so he's watched his older siblings play rock, paper, scissors, but so he understands like how to play rock, paper, scissors, but only with rock. So he only ever plays rock. He thinks he's winning.
It's like smash some time.
Right.
Oh, Mario, you're so good at this.
Yes.
Well, that was a good show.
It was fun. It's a nice little icebreaker. You win some, you lose some. To in your defense, Irina, Mario's been playing this game now for 6 months.
Yep. Well, Mario, you are the champion. I bow down to you, my friend. Yes.
So Kingdoms of Amalur, it was online as well. I know it was definitely an RPG or had RPG components to it, but was it also online? Maybe we didn't have online access when we played it on Xbox.
Well, that's the thing, is that what you played was Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, which was supposed to be a prequel to the MMO that we were making. So 38 Studios started making Amalur long before Reckoning came out. And it's kind of a convoluted story, but we actually saved from THQ, we saved Big Huge Games. THQ was looking to sell Big Huge Games, and they had made amazing titles like Rise of Nations. I don't know if you're an RTS player at all, but Rise of Nations was one of the most beautiful RTSs that I had ever played. And they were working on a single player RPG with their own IP, and it wasn't quite jiving. I had come in shortly after the acquisition, and we were doing some user testing, and like the world, it just wasn't resonating with players. So what we did was we had author R.A. Salvatore extend the world that we were building for the MMO. And the MMO itself, like, we had like the most incredible wiki. It was like 4,000 years of history, 11 races, an entire like continent of cultures and characters that we had developed. And Reckoning happened, I think, 3,000 years prior to the action of the MMO. So we like made a really like clear separation. And we basically back built their game into the IP that we had developed and the world building that R.A. Salvatore had created. And it was so good. The way that they did that adaptation. So there was no online play particularly for that game, but it was supposed to be like a teaser for the world that we had created for Amalur, that world that nobody's ever going to see. It's so sad.
And for those of you who haven't seen it, this is the cover art, Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning. When you said Reckoning, as soon as you said it, I was like, oh yeah, it was Amalur Reckoning. And it ended up being a single player experience. I remember, is it Kurt Schilling?
It was.
Yeah.
Kurt Schilling
baseball
was
player,
the founder from the Boston Red Sox. He was the one with the bloody sock.
The bloody sock. Yeah. Did he run for? Did he run for like office, or was it senator, governor, or something? Something, I don't know.
Oh, he got involved in politics, but we won't talk about that.
we won't talk about that.
Okay. He's. You can go your own way. Like he did his own thing. I respect that. But we at 38 we had hands down the best team that working at Blizzard was pretty phenomenal, but at 38 Studios we had the best of the best. In fact, one of my favorite people from 38, DeMarcus Holbrook, is at Blizzard now working on Blizzard games, and he's one of the most talented environment artists. If y'all don't know him, you all should look him up because he's done some incredible work. I think he's working with the WoW team right now, but he was working on the unannounced survival game as an environment lead. He had designed all these incredible environments for the Amalur MMO. Like we had this concept of a city on the back of a turtle. Like, and he'd drawn it out, and then he modeled the damn thing, and then like animated it.
Wow!
Like, could you imagine like walking onto the back of a giant turtle? That
was like 20 years ago, right? I should have kept it.
Yeah, 2012 is when the company went bankrupt.
Yeah.
So, wow, ancient history. But
there's a Disney movie now where I think that there's like they live on a turtle or something.
Oh, which Disney movie is that? I haven't seen it.
I don't know. It's like
if it's Wish, I haven't seen that one.
I'm gonna spoil the movie and I forget the name of it, but it's like a remake of another movie. But I guess the movie's like 6 years old now. So if you haven't seen it, basically they're on the surface of this thing and then they like go inside of the thing and then they realize they're being attacked by all these monsters, and it turns out like the monsters attacking them are the immune system of the turtle that they've been living on.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Anyway,
that's cool.
That should be its own video game.
Yes, it would. Yeah. Wouldn't that be a really cool video game to like being a virus invading a body or an immune system? Like, talk about a tower defense game.
Yeah.
Here, let's fight COVID.
Like games. Yeah. Now you would think
games
like that would catch like the imagination of game. I'm saying that would be an awesome game, like to catch the imagination of kids. That would be an awesome game.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Like, I don't know. Do you have kids, Mario?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have kids?
Daughter, she's 10.
He has one.
Oh, very nice, very nice. And Marcus, you have children too, right?
Yeah.
I have 3. Yeah.
Yep. Actually, and I've got 3 myself, and you know, all I think about when I think about my 3 kids, I'm like, man, you guys would make an amazing party. We need to hit some dungeons.
My kids and I are playing, I forget which Kirby game it is, Forgotten World or Island or something, and it's a 4-player side-scrolling action adventure game. And so each of us are able to play as Kirby or any one of the number of like heroes in the Kirby universe, which is great because in the other Kirby game that we have, only one person can be Kirby, and the other person is like half of a cooperative support character that gets dragged along as Kirby moves. And so, as you could probably imagine, that creates a lot of fights. I want to be Kirby. That's the only one who has all the powers. This other one's just like a stand-in. So
everybody wants to be the main character, right?
Right, with all the powers.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's the thing. You know, especially with a lot of these games that are like crafted around a single character. Right, you know, that's the hero that everybody wants to be, that main standout character. I would much rather play Mario than Luigi. I mean sometimes I will play Luigi because I feel bad. He wears green all the time. It's not a good color for his skin tone. But genuinely, like, you know, where are the games where everybody comes in feeling good? Like, did you ever play Marvel Ultimate Alliance? Talk about it. Great.
Yes, that's a classic.
Hands down, epic couch co-op games. By the way, where are the couch co-op games these days? Like, how many? Like, have you ever gone to the couch co-op section in the PlayStation Store? There's like five games out of like the thousands.
It used to be, maybe the website's still here. It's called Co-Optimus. Yeah, and it catalogs like all the couch co-op games that exist across the number of platforms.
Where have you been all my life? I'm gonna have to,
Optimus. I'm gonna butcher this.
The prime source for co-op gaming. Because if you are a co-op gamer, what you need like a tool like that to help you identify and find the couch co-op games. Yeah, these are like the hashtag, the problems we want to solve, because there's just like there's not enough for having that moment where you're all like I don't know. I played a lot of EverQuest when I was younger, and we had a lot of moments where our asses were handed to us by gods, dragons, or, you know, just a really bad pull in a lava-filled dungeon. And like now as an adult and having kids that are like adolescents, and my 7-year-old can definitely keep up with the older kids. All I want to do is like have those moments with them. I don't want to, I mean, yes, I do want to play with like my friends that are, you know, spread around the world, but like half of the reason why I'm building the game that we're building is because like I think it would be just so much fun to go and like push your limits, push your boundaries, and like go through a high tension, high stress like dungeon experience with your kids and like eke out a win at the end. Could you imagine like the high fives you would have in your living room when like you killed that boss instead of dying? Like it would be so good.
Do you have siblings, Irina?
Yeah.
I have four brothers and an older sister, but it's awkward, but I'm an only child.
Okay. So, you know, I have an identical twin brother. I don't know if you've seen my brother Malcolm, and then my sister is 18 months younger than the two of us. And so like playing couch co-op games was basically the only time we played together nicely. So we played like Hunter the Reckoning, obviously Marvel Ultimate Alliance, you know, Contra on the retro consoles, and so exactly. And so that's why I'm excited about this idea. You talk about, you know, pro-social and building family bonds with video games, because it was the only time we were nice to each other. The only time.
Legitimately, you know, my youngest two kids, they're separated by about almost 5 years. And they shared a room until recently. We just moved this week, and they would fight like cats and dogs. Like they were just always on each other's nerves and arguing all the time. And then at some point, I just sat them down and handed them It Takes Two, and I said, "You guys play this." And by the time they were finished with that game, they were best friends. Like they were legit best friends. Why? Because my daughter could go and take her younger brother and throw him into a ceiling fan and like make him explode. They could do these things in like it was low cost. Like they didn't actually have to punch each other to like make trouble with each other. And they were able to resolve differences and learn the art. And it's an art of like stepping back and letting somebody else do the thing, and then swapping places. That you step back and then let the other person do the thing. That is the like that's power. And that to me demonstrated the power of video games and how you could genuinely just fundamentally transform the relationship between two people by giving them an opportunity to play together, but play together in a way that required both people to participate and be successful. And World of Warcraft did the same thing. When you were out there, you things would be too hard and you'd have to go out and get help. It's a very different game now. Like, you can solo most things, but back in the day, like, you'd hit Von Cleef and you couldn't take him down by yourself. You needed to call for other people in Red Ridge to come and join you to help take him down. And so and you would form friendships and you meet up with that person the next day. And that is something that I think is missing in a lot of video games today. Video games tend to be, about dominance or, last man standing, like the battle royales or tack shooters. I mean, tack shooters are kind of a blend between the two. You get some of that co-op fun with the win. But even so, there's something powerful when it's you and your the people that you're playing with against the world versus you and the people and being versus the people that you're playing with.
Yeah, I think Mario just stepped out for a little bit. He'll be right back. But I agree with you 100%. I was recently interviewed for an article with the Associated Press last week. And the journalist asked me, why are video games? There's an organization called Comic Relief US that does the red nose with CBS and all the celebrities.
Yeah.
They've launched a new effort. And they're now into their second year of this campaign to use video games to teach kids about empathy. And so the journalist is why do you think that it makes sense? And I basically said what you said just now, is that when you're playing co-op games, it teaches you to have empathy for the people, because unlike first-person shooters like your Call of Duties and your Battle Royales, where you are competing against each other, you need the people around you in order to beat the game.
Well, and that's the thing about great social games is there are games that will call themselves social that have friends lists or chat or leaderboards. That's a scratch on the surface that shows you that other people exist, but that doesn't create any sort of need for other people. There's no interdependence, and it's that piece where you rely on that other person. And in fact, that's the mission statement for Haven, our first title, and that family friendly title, is that Haven is a beautiful and dangerous world where you have to rely on each other to survive.
If you don't mind, can we bring up some art, the stuff that you have public, none of the behind the scenes NDA confidential stuff where then
I'm happy to show you confidential stuff if you want to see some of our concept art.
Yes, if you click the button at the bottom, there's one that's like a rectangle. I think that's a rectangle. Maybe it's a very strangely shaped square. Rectangle with the arrow in it, and then it'll allow you to broadcast whatever screen or window you choose, and then I'll bring it up. And I was thinking about some more co-op games as you do that. I remember The Simpsons, the X-Men game.
Oh my goodness!
Go ahead.
Yes, your Gauntlet. Even talk about a throwback, right?
Gauntlet. Oh yes, Gauntlet was amazing. That series ran for decades.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. Or you know what? One of my favorite co-op games, I swear to God, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
There's a new one. Did you see that a new one just came out 4 weeks ago? My brother's been playing it. It's kind of what did he say? Hades, if Hades was 4-player.
Interesting. So I did not know, and you just rocked my world. Wait, hold on. If you were to play a turtle, what turtle do you play?
I always play Michelangelo.
Nice. Yeah. I'm a Leonardo. This is good. We can team up. I like it.
Very, very, very quickly, I read about this 3 or 4 years ago, and my brain exploded. And when I shared it to my brother and sister, because we grew up watching the Ninja Turtle movies, I saw this. I don't know if it was just a fan theory or whatever, but they say that Splinter basically gave each of the turtles the weapon that they needed to provide balance. So, for example, Michelangelo is goofy, and so you have to have a lot of self-control when you're using nunchucks. Otherwise, you hit yourself every time you're trying to hit someone else. And Raphael is aggressive, but size aren't inherently deadly weapons. They're more used for defense. Leonardo is the brainiac, and otherwise a bow staff is a useless weapon, so he has to use his intellect. And then Leonardo has the katana as the most deadliest of the weapons, and so he has to show leadership and restraint in order to leverage that weapon safely.
And that's where I think IPs really shine, is when they bring in philosophy like that. Yeah. Because like it's a way to introduce these really complex topics, especially to kids, or even, you know, I mean, how much did these shows influence us as we were growing up? Right. And the fact that like you can discover this and like it has more meaning to you now as an adult, and it has the same level of impact. Why? Because it impacted you so much when you were young. Like the humans are built to take in the story and to learn through story, and that's what we want to do. And actually we have some core philosophy concepts similarly from Buddhism that we've brought into the game that we're building. And it's partly, you know, the idea that we want people to build their own mental resilience while playing our game, because we want it to be an exploration of who you are at your core. So when you create a character in Haven, you are taking a personality test, and the game tells you which character class you match with best to kind of inform you. And like you can upload your selfies and get like a, you know, an AI generated version of your character. You know, but then you jump into game, and then you develop your character either with what you were told that you would match more with, or what impulsively takes you. But we want players to discover their own inner hero through playing our game. Because you can, like in a video game, it's an abstraction of life. So like you can go out and risk your life and then just respawn. Yeah. So like you can increase the risk level, and then therefore you like get some really great rewards out of that experience. So that's awesome. This concept art. So this is I don't often share this particular deck, but this is a lot of the concept art that we've developed that kind of set the stage for what we're looking for art style and for some of our experiences. So I can talk through it a little bit. But we're going for that.
Thank you for sharing it for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so cool. And I'm glad we can have a conversation about it, because we want to like lean into that classic Western fantasy that we all know and love, but we want to kind of turn it on its head a little bit. But art style wise, we're aiming for an illustrated look. We want it to feel like you're basically living in a living and breathing animated television show, which I think is like having a TV show come to life and then you can live in it is been a dream for me. Right. But these are the characters that we developed that really like set the stage for the vibe that we're going for with our game. We want like a hint of anime. You know, we want the characters to kind of be like almost gender neutral when they're early level, and then have the characters again develop and express who they are more as they progress in level and in their power. And this image actually describes what we imagine to be like an epic battle, where players actually have to work together. You have to summon spells and power together, not just by yourself, in order to fight back these, you know, almost demonic energies or these dark energies that are really trying to just consume reality. But one of the things that we use like this image for is that when we have really intense boss combat, we want the world to kind of disappear in this cloudy haze of magic. Like you're completely surrounded by magic, and you get to like, you know, dark creatures will break out of it, and then you have to summon the magic out of these swirls to kind of control or subdue them. Really, really fun. But again, like
kind of reminds me of Secret of Mana.
Yes. Like really, we're going into that like adventure game, into our adventure game roots, trying to bring that forward. Like how can we get like that vibe into like this fantasy MMO context? Another one, this is just an image that we generated based on some of the concept art, or sorry, the mythologies that our writer Angela Hannah Gulen, a phenomenal writer and children's television show writer that joined us last year, and she created this entire magical sect of Escura, and it's this is like supports the storyline of our demo, and it harkens and leans back into Egyptian mythology, and we're really into like those tie-ins with actual human stories and mythologies. This is another example of like kind of the swirling magic clouds and creatures kind of coalescing out of them. This might be a dungeon entrance that appears in our dark forest. We have a zone generator, so literally we just can create content on the fly, and you don't know if a dungeon entrance is going to appear in your zone or not, but we're going to have these like cool moments, and then once you zone in, there will be another generated zone within that, and then you'll emerge out of it once you complete it into another generated zone. It'll be really cool.
Right.
This is an example of some of our characters that we want to bring into our game. We have these creatures that we call sylphs that are your kind of magical aid, but it's also a character that you progress along with you to kind of be a pet or a mount for you. So characters will have like animals that they can raise with them, but you can kind of get a sense of the art style of the armor that we're going for, the range of what your character can look like, and the types of self-expression that we really want to support.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, we're super excited. This is actually cool. This is one of our early images of like, what does it look like when you encounter, a shadow infected tree in the dark forest? And like this really was just evocative for us to help drive some of the imagery that we use to develop the look for our zones. And then what does it look like when you come home? Sorry, go ahead.
It reminds me of the tree from Fern Gully. You ever see that old movie?
Oh, I love that movie. Are you kidding? Yeah. For sure. There's a lot of influence of like classic animation and that vibe in a lot of the work that we've developed.
Yeah.
So again, you can see here, what does it look like when you're coming home? Like, we want a game that's beautiful. We want unicorns. We want dragons. We want like classic storybook castles, so that it feels kind of culturally anchored. And that's one of the rules, like the narrative rules, is that you want to like normalize and set the stage in what people are familiar with, because that's when a little bit later you can start messing with them and start messing with the rules that you set. So yeah, this is kind of the high level concept art.
Thanks for sharing that with us. Christopher says that he loves everything that you shared, and he's joining us virtually from Atlanta. We've got some names here. I can't see everyone's names, but some folks are saying they remember Fern Gully as well.
Nice. For sure.
That's awesome. How long have you been working on Haven?
Haven itself, we've been working on since the spring of last year. Actually, in May 22nd was our first code check-in. And, I kind of used that date to kind of mark how long it took us. We've actually got a working cross-platform, cross-play prototype. And we built that in 7 months, which is kind of absolutely insane considering. But I'll show you real quick, because I can play it. I'm on a Mac right now, and I could log in on my Mac. You could play on PC, and when my phone is super laggy, but you can see you can also play on the phone, so we can just log in. And the reason for that is because, did you know that 96% of kids in the United States have a tablet and access the internet through a tablet? So if you want to get to kids, you have to build a cross-platform game.
Right.
It also like gives you 4 times the revenue when you build something cross-platform, but you can see
coincidentally
this is our game awesome so far.
Yeah.
So We should get you on one of our playtest streams to come and play with us, please.
I have a PC here, I have an Android, and I have a PlayStation 4. So I don't. Maybe you're already in PlayStation 5, and I'm aged out of your playtest range.
Nope. We got you. We got you covered. Please come and play with us, because that's that's the best part of making video games, is when you can get people into play and like have a good time and get their feedback and actually like enjoy the experience with another person. I hate single player games most of the time, unless it's like Baldur's Gate. That's a different story.
I think it's brilliant that you've prioritized inclusion, and not like it's some I don't know.
It's not a gimme.
Field philosophy, right? It's not a charity case, right? It's a good moral standing, but it also, you're doing it for business reasons. By having access to the game from as many platforms as possible and allowing everyone to play together, you maximize the engagement potential for your IP. Like, why? I don't understand why studios and publishers and ecosystems are walling gardens when from, at least from a capitalist perspective, their goal is to make as much money as possible. It seems counterintuitive.
Absolutely. And right now there's a little bit of a vibe within games with a small subsection of people that think inclusivity means being exclusionary. Mm-hmm. And that's not what inclusivity means. Inclusivity means opening doors and bringing games to where people are, to the devices where people are, like you said, and also allowing people to represent themselves the way that they want to. That's the magic of MMOs and RPGs, is like you create your own character. You customize your character. It can either look like you, or it can look like, somebody with blue skin and purple hair. It depends on, I'm leaving that to Tom, our art director, as to what, ranges are allowable. Right. But like, we did something really crazy with our prototype. We made all of our starting characters. Now, let me explain. Like, our prototype it doesn't have our character creator built in. And in fact, like we have a different character that we built as our first character in game. But when we started building our individual classes, we had a male and female model. And we said to ourselves, we were like, what if we like made all of our characters like non-white or non-normal, mm-hmm. as like starting characters? These are not like characters that would go into release. These are not characters that would, persist. Maybe they might become, stand-in characters later on. They're just like stand-ins, literally stand-ins. And I have never made a game where the first character wasn't like a white dude.
Yeah. I don't think.
And mind you, our first character was a white dude. It was, and admittedly, it was like this white lumberjack, and he had blonde hair, and he was beefy and like gnarly. We didn't name him Lumberjack. We named him a Forester because we didn't want to have gendered names. Yeah. Right. But, and then like our starting characters, we had 3 male and 3 female, and none of them are quite like pale Caucasian. And I thought that was just like a huge win for the moment, for where we are as like a culture, where we are as people, and not for the sake of, pandering or virtue signaling, but because like, why the hell not? All 3 of our first characters, when we made our demo characters, they were all female, because I'm a rebellious person by nature. So there was not a single male character in the starting lineup. So sad. And we were like, everybody was like, when we were doing our playtest, we were all playing female characters. And it was not a matter of me wanting to exclude men from being able to play our game. It was more like, well, why not have all female characters that are all various shades of color? Like, why the hell not? Because that needs to be normalized. That we've operated too long with like a very narrow window of who a gamer should be. And I think we open up to larger markets, larger opportunities, larger cultures. Like there's entire cultures of gamers in Africa, in Southeast Asia, in India, that are looking to be represented in Western games that we just don't. So right. I'm willing to take the risk and take the stance to push for like normal can look a little bit different.
Right. Is it the best-selling game of all time as of last week? Doesn't have a white male character as the lead character.
Incredible. Like, it's a
Yeah.
sign of the times.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know that there are folks that are like, they're mad about it. I'm like, friends, you have like 35, 40 years of history of, you know, having yourself represented. And it's not a matter of we're not making games for them or we're not taking games from them. It's that we're expanding the meaning of who and what games can be made for, and who, you know, and there's so much more that can be done.
Agreed. And when I have that conversation with folks, it's not about necessarily, again, like you said, it's not excluding, white men from the conversation. It's expanding the conversation so that other people can be represented. And like you said, when you're done, you'll have the ability to have white men represented as a character when the character creator is done. And the other piece of that is there are countless other games where they have white male characters as the leads. So it's not like those character prototypes or stereotypes are going away anytime soon.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's what character creators are for. Like, you get to customize your character. You get to make your character who it is. And that's what I love about MMOs, is that the character becomes an extension of yourself. Mm-hmm. And, when I've spent my entire career being told that women gamers don't exist, like, I'm right here.
Yeah.
I've been playing games since I was 14 years old. That was 1988. No, 1990 or 1991. Wow, I'm really good at math. I'm really good at math at 9 p.m. But
doing your best.
Yeah, doing my best, Marcus. But I've been playing games for a very long time, and when like Lara Croft appeared on the scene, I was floored. I was like, this is the coolest game ever. And then there were like crickets for ever, like being able to play a female character. And there was actually a point where I like didn't play any games if they didn't allow for character customization, because that meant I couldn't play a female character. And I would like, just out of a simple matter of protest.
Right.
Just because we're, a minority doesn't mean that we don't deserve representation.
Right. Oh, someone else has been playing Tomb Raider. I have played Tomb Raider 2. I remember, I think on the PlayStation, right? PlayStation 1?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Classic.
Oh,
classic.
good.
And now there's animes, or there's going to be an anime into this
Even
year,
cooler.
sometime next year.
Even cooler. And there's so much opportunity. And that's the other thing. So on one side, there's the representation piece. But then there's the other, like on the other side of, where games have gone today is, I mean, I don't know about you. Do you feel like games have gotten like really dark? And even like just IPs in general, and movies and television shows, they've gotten like not just adult, but like very adult.
Yeah. More mature, darker themed. Yeah.
Like whatever happened to the days of like, Batman and Robin when they were goofy? Now it's like all Christopher Nolan. I'm Batman. Right? They're all super serious.
That's a textbook example. You're right.
Right. And like, if you look at the Adam West version of Batman versus the Christopher Nolan Batman, like it's night and day. And I remember growing up in like the 80s and 90s, dating myself, but like I grew up watching Star Trek and the X-Files and, these classic shows that, what are some other ones?
If it makes you feel any better, I also grew up watching the X-Files and Star Trek.
Yeah. Okay, good. But like those shows felt like they were for adults, but kids could watch them. And it wouldn't like give me nightmares. I mean, it might like give me like some anxiety because like some Crash Bandicoot. I like Crash Bandicoot.
Perfect. And they rebooted that recently, the whole series.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they did, didn't they?
Remaster it, rather.
Yeah. No, but it's so good that the stuff is coming back for newer audiences. But like, do you remember I grew up watching television with my dad, and we would watch these shows like at 8 or 9 o'clock, mostly on Thursday nights, actually, when the good shows were on, like Marcus's podcast. But it felt like they were shows made for adults that kids could hitch a ride onto, and there's a vibe there that I think is missing in games. Of what are the games that are like a little bit edgy for kids but still acceptable, that parents want to play? And that's the kind of the line that we're trying to ride with Haven, of like, let's make it feel like it's adult and not kiddie, because like most kids games end up being really juvenile.
Right.
And they pander to the youngest set and make it super cutesy. That's like kind of the brand strategy of Nintendo.
That's true. That's true.
But where's the other side? Like, when I played, I mean, WoW kind of hits that mark really perfectly. It's still cartoony, it's still accessible, but it's also still like, it has some like adult jokes, and it feels like it's still targeted towards adults, and young people can jump in and play. So that's where I think that there's a sweet spot of opportunity of bringing together kids and parents to want to play the same thing.
Yeah, and you see that in movies as well, right? Like Sonic is one of those types of movies that's like written for adults or written for kids, but so that adults can enjoy it. So yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, and where I think there just needs to be more of that. And now that kids are pretty much being raised by video games, right? And we as parents, like, we grew up playing video games, and this is the first time in history that we have a generation of parents that grew up playing video games.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the, like, I'm fundraising right now, and one of the audience pushback pieces that I get from investors is that they don't think that kids want to play video games with their parents. Which, like, literally my 7-year-old says
we don't have
almost
enough time
every
for
single
that.
night. Yeah, my 7-year-old says, like, Mama, I want to play a game with you. And I'm like, honey, I don't want to play Minecraft again.
My son told me that before he went to bed. He's like, Mom said tomorrow's Friday. He's 6. Tomorrow's Friday, and so on the weekend we play video games. So I can't wait to play. What is he playing now? We played some Kirby. I don't know if you ever played Knack. Knack is another one of those classic co-op games on PlayStation. Knack
so
2
cool.
is co-op. But yeah, exactly what you said. But I had a startup that was in the indie game space. I ran for 7 years, and we had to pivot away from it because nobody understood that indie games were important. Coincidentally, now everybody's investing in indie games. I guess I was too early. But I had investors.
You're ahead of your time.
It feel like, and the response that you got feels like when investors make up a reason to say no because they don't want to tell you the real reason, because anybody who's even like casually aware of the space knows that that's not true. Like, kids want to play video games with their parents. I think, what is it? ESA has they did a report or research, and that's one of the key stats is like the high percentage of kids who want to play with parents and parents who want to play with their kids.
77% of gamers who are parents play video games on a weekly basis with their kids.
Yeah.
At least an hour a week.
Yeah.
And, I would be playing a lot more were there games that were like, if Subnautica were multiplayer, I'd be all over that.
Yeah.
Like, legit. It would be so much fun. Cool adventure games where I feel like we're, it's me and my kids against the world, because that's what forms family bonds. Like when you go out camping together and you have to figure out how to put up the tent, or like you're cooking breakfast in the morning, but like you have no electricity and just a lighter and a camp stove,
Right.
Figure it out. But like those kinds of challenges that, like, they're not going to kill you. They're just going to push you into, elevating yourself or learning new skills. Those are the moments that actually make families and strengthen families. And there's, I think, lots of activities and like the cultural influence right now is separating us more. So I want to kind of turn the tide and make something that actually brings us together.
That's awesome. Can you talk a little bit more about, you said you've raised $1.1 million, and I think you went through the first speed run, which was A16Z's, I guess, dedicated gaming fund. Can you talk about whatever piece of that you want to talk about, but generally your experience of raising is, you're in a marginalized group as a woman, being Black, you've probably seen the stats that I think less than 3% of venture capital in the US goes to startups with women founders, less than 1% go to startups with Black founders, which is why we had to shut down my platform, even though we had users in 40 countries. My brother and I both have technical degrees. We play video games and have been making our own game. People were telling us the thing that we were actively building with users in 40 countries couldn't be built. So that's what I say, like when investors will just make up some random reason to tell you no, and the reason is that they're implicit bias that they either do or don't want to acknowledge.
I don't think they see it themselves. I mean, that's what the nature of cognitive bias, right? Is that they can't quite put their finger on why they don't trust that founder. Like, when you don't know, it's usually some sort of like, racially or gender associated biases. Like, I just don't like that guy. I don't know why. But yeah, no, the investment rates are dismal, and we, when we started raising, and Speedrun announced their first cohort for the accelerator. And by the way, A16Z just announced Speedrun cohort 4 applications are either open now or opening soon. And one of the things that I do, and please feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in applying to Speedrun, please reach out. I'm happy to spend 15 minutes to kind of talk about my experience, talk about the games team at A16Z, and share kind of how it affected us. But really, Speedrun was the catalyst that changed everything. It took us from a theoretical company to, like, when we got our first check, we checked in our first piece of code. Speedrun invested $500,000 when it first started, rather than this. Like, they offer $750,000 for, an indie game team. And like, it's an amazing opportunity. So if you are interested or have a game idea, they will take pitch decks. They're very, for the right idea, they really open the doors. But Speedrun really fundamentally changed us from being a paper pitch to software. We got a game build up in, a week, and started playing, and we were able to, prove at least that we could put something together quickly. And then we were able to double that investment with more angel funds, and, raised more and more and more. And then we hit probably the absolute worst fundraising market in all of venture history in the fall of 2023. Where we realized we were quickly running out of money, and we pulled the brakes on everything in order to be able to survive. And right now, like, even though we've been in Speedrun, and we were actually, like, I was named by the social justice venture fund, Angels, an entrepreneur to watch for 2023, and then Lightspeed and GamesBeat named Unleashed a game changer for 2024, like, because they were so excited by what we were doing. And all of that still made it impossible. Like, we were still it was impossible to raise at the end of last year. So no matter what the accolades and press and whatever we would get, our logo was flashed on Times Square, like check bucket list item, check it off the list. And even so, that wasn't enough to be able to raise our seed round. Mind you, right now, we've had to pivot a little bit in order to be able to gain traction, because right now, if you go to most venture funds and you say, hey, I'm making a game, they won't talk to you. They'll say, we don't invest in content. Which is, I thought that was the whole point of games venture investment, right? Is to make games.
I don't have much positive, maybe even anything positive to say about the venture capital ecosystem as a whole, particularly in the gaming industry. So I'm just going to smile and nod in agreement.
Yeah, right. Because it is. I feel like there's a lot of decision making happening by people who have never operated game teams, have never actually built software. They don't know what it takes, and they don't know what it looks like. Like we're showing our prototype, and like when you look at the feature set in our prototype, it is out of this world, fully featured. We're cross-platform, like in a prototype form. We have multiplayer. We have boss fights. You can take down an Egyptian demigod werewolf guy
Yeah.
in Kabalmat in our game, and the fact that we did that is literally like a miracle in such a short amount of time, and have done so effectively with the quality of the UX. And yet, we get feedback of, well, you're too early. We don't like this, doesn't look like the game that people will want to play. I'm like, yeah, because it's not.
Prototype.
It's a prototype. Do you know what lean development means? Like, you get it
so much
functional.
PTSD right now as you're talking. So much PTSD.
Nightmares, nightmare material.
Yeah. Wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh God, no hyperventilation for you.
It's okay. I'm managing.
But the good news is that we actually, and this is something that I can talk about, like the game that we've built was literally built to just get our tech up in place so that we could make multiple games with the same back-end system. Because we recently just got let out of the box the fact that we're not just building Haven, we're building, I can actually show you.
You can share, please, go ahead.
Yeah. So there's, so Haven, I'll do like a quick little 1-2 punch. So this is, Haven. And if you want to sign up for our Friends and Family Alpha, if you go to haven.unleashedgames.com, you'll see here, you can click this link and become a founding player to join our, join our mailing list. But we have this other thing that we recently kind of semi-announced, mostly announced for venture because we're trying to fundraise. But if you go to unleashedgames.com/realms, this is our concept, where we are building a platform for virtual worlds. And so the idea is that, imagine if you had, it's going to loop again.
It's okay. It looks amazing, so let's let it loop.
Yeah. So imagine like a Netflix of virtual worlds. So it's a survival crafting game, same gameplay as Haven, but we're actually talking to major IP holders to develop their IPs into fantasy playgrounds so that you can log in and experience the same kind of game, but in their world. But we take over and create like economies of scale with gameplay, with things like trust and safety so that your kids are safe in every single world that we're playing. The UX is always cross-platform and it's always consistent. We're never going to, take advantage of you or try to capitalize on your children's vulnerability to monetize. Like we're going to build the ethical company that we want. But at the same time, also create essentially what we're calling that Netflix of game worlds. And this is kind of our pitch about it.
So when you talk about the play test, how many people can that support? Like how many is too many?
Well, we have actually had up to like 30 people in our game at once, but like we overwhelm the content. Like the content's way too easy. So we haven't developed like dynamic content scaling to make the, up the challenge level. But the intention is to be generating zones for up to 100 players. Imagine kind of a long play battle royale that lasts like 3 to 5, maybe 7 days, with like lots of quests and mini dungeons that you keep returning back to until you've exhausted all of the resources or completed all of your quests. And then you've worked together with the other players who are in that zone to take down the boss. And then that zone disappears, never to be seen again.
If you don't mind, I would love to connect you to that journalist I was telling you about earlier. Because
oh wow, yeah.
part of that conversation that I had with the journalist was, I said that Roblox is a better place for a cooperative environment than, let's say, Fortnite, because Fortnite is inherently more competitive. I said, but the downside is that Roblox is still trying to work its way through some grooming and other issues in their ecosystem. There's just not player safety there, especially for younger kids, like there should be. And also, they're trying to age up the platform and appeal to an older demographic. So whenever you combine the older demographic with a vulnerable younger demographic, it's going to create issues. It doesn't seem like they had player safety, especially youth player safety, as a priority as they built it and scaled it. And so I would have to imagine that there's a high demand for an alternative.
There really is. And that's the thing that drives us, is that if you look at these massive platforms, Minecraft has actually done a really great job in like, they have a consistency of experience and like the quality experience, but I'm not going to spend my free time. I'm not going to want to spend my free time playing Minecraft.
Yeah.
Mostly because I just end up down like an ADHD focus hole, and I will sit there and I will like just be obsessively moving blocks and wonder why it's 2:00 in the morning. But Roblox, like you said, there's not a lot of standardization, and yet it's been a great proving ground for gameplay loops. Did you know that some of the most popular games on Roblox are RPGs that almost straight up dupe World of Warcraft?
That wouldn't surprise me. I've seen some duplicates of like the game mechanics core gameplay loops of like Super Smash Brothers and some other core popular games that were made on traditionally PC like Steam. I think there's also or actually even like a genre of companies that basically just take like very popular games that exist on other platforms like Switch or PlayStation or Xbox and then port them essentially into Roblox.
Yes, and it's a brilliant play because the audience is there, but that audience is getting older.
Yeah.
Right. And my 16-year-old babysitter, she will come and play Roblox with my kids, but all of them are like, they want something new because the visual fidelity isn't there, the quality isn't there. But at the same time, my kids are obsessed with a game called World Zero, which is that dupe of World of Warcraft. It's had over 320 million plays.
Wow.
And I actually got some feedback from a venture capital firm today, actually, that they don't think that modern audiences are into the gameplay style of World of Warcraft, that it's too like, it's a nostalgia play and not actually like what players in modern times want. And I'm like, but what about these numbers? And like, there's an RPG where you play a cat, and it's based off of the Warrior Cats book series, and there's like 65 books. My daughter reads all of these. She's obsessed with them. And she will play her Warrior Cats RPG where all they do is just role play back and forth as these cats in this game world. And she will play it for like days and days and days and days. That game has had over 520 million plays. I was just checking the stats today on the Roblox catalog.
Yeah.
It's insane. Kids want games like that. Kids want more slower paced games where they have space to socialize and to get to know one another. But parents don't want that to happen unless it's safe.
It's safe. Yeah.
And so you need both of those pieces in order to create the freedom for kids to be able to play and the parents to feel comfortable with them engaging. And I mean, if it's going to take a mom to go out there and build this platform, like, okay, I'll do it.
I think it is going to take a moment to go out there and build it because it's just there's not enough diversity of thought in the gaming industry at an executive level to even acknowledge that this opportunity exists, nor have the perspective and the value system to deliver it. So thank you for doing that. I remember it was a couple weeks back, I had downloaded a demo on my PlayStation, which is kind of a tower defense game. And I thought it was just like a single player demo, and it required me to sign into PlayStation Network, which I thought was odd at the time. So then I went to the kitchen to go make a snack real quick. And then I heard extra voices on the TV, and I it's like, why do I hear that sound? I walked back then, and it was actually like spawning other people, real people from some matchmaking session in. And so as soon as I saw that, I like immediately turned it off. So we're not playing this demo because I don't know these people and I don't want them interacting with my 7-year-old. And
Yep.
and it didn't communicate that it was doing that. So I understand exactly what you and agree with you that I want my kids to play in that environment. My kids want to play in that environment, but I only want them to play in that if I can guarantee that it's safe for them.
Absolutely. And you should be able to create an environment where like you can set the walled garden and say, no,
Yeah.
it's just us playing in this space. And then when you all decide to go out and adventure, if you want to go out into a public space, you can, but then you're there with them.
Right.
And like, I think actually voice is one of the worst things to happen to video games. I mean, it's great for coordinating for raids, but like you lose a lot of privacy and you actually reduce the rate of communication between players because voice is such an overwhelming communication method. And once you get more than one person talking, like our brains only have a single linguistic system.
Yeah.
Like you can't like have you ever tried to read a book while somebody's trying to like your kid's trying to talk to you, or like you're reading something like reading instructions to like make them the mac and cheese? Like, dude, just please stop talking for a second
30
so that I can
seconds. Give me 30
process.
seconds.
Right. I like to say to my kids, mommy needs her brain right now. Can I have my brain?
Yes.
But genuinely, like when more than one person speaks, it can be overwhelming. And especially these days, as we're recognizing, like people being more on the spectrum than we actually realize, ADHD being a more prevalent thing, especially with some of the mental health challenges that we're culturally facing, and it's becoming more and more of an issue. Voice can actually be detrimental to social bond building. So we're talking about doing things like, if we do support voice, allowing for you to modulate your voice so a kid's voice can be changed to an adult voice.
Mm-hmm.
And doing so on the fly, and then having AI systems that monitor the voice chat to immediately squelch based on content. Because like AI, this is something that I was talking about earlier today in a call, that like AI allows us to monitor multiple streams of data so that we can contextually and appropriately identify things as bad, rather than just relying on a single like F-bomb and saying, oh,
Yep.
you're done. When that F-bomb could have been like, yeah, I just won something.
Yeah.
So context always matters, but AI allows us to determine the appropriate context, or at least the more meaningful context. And then also, just having chat, maybe it's not even having any voice, and it's, just having speech to text so that the output is always text.
Mm-hmm.
And then that way it's easier to monitor, easier to control, and easier to prevent any sort of like slip ups. And also there's the protection element of it. And I also think that like social bonds are much better in a text context. I don't know if you ever logged into like BBSs or chat systems when you were younger, but that's how I made most of my friends when I was a teenager. And like, I don't know, I feel like the relationships that I got there were stronger even than some of the relationships that I made in high school, because we would just sit there and like type to each other late into the night.
I remember AOL Instant Messenger.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. And you probably made some great friends, and friends that you're still friends with to this day.
Yeah.
Why? Because you just like type in random words to them for hours on end.
Right.
And there's something to that. And what that does, though, is that once you get into text, the younger set, like they can't read, they can't type, so they're almost instantly protected.
That's true. That's brilliantly true.
Right? And like you have to go through the filter of mom and dad, because like as on the other side of the story, I'm watching my son watching YouTube Reels on speaker. And like I've literally heard YouTube Reels that are grooming to him, right? Like some of the things that I've seen him like that get fed to him as like YouTube kids have been shocking. Like where is the responsibility of the technologists to protect the consumers? Like they can't just allow anything to get thrown out there. And I'm not an advocate for censorship at all, but I'm an advocate for creating safe spaces for everybody to participate.
Agreed. Spot on all of that. So we've got some sidebar conversations to have because I'm excited to dive into more about what you're building and your timeline. I think there's some opportunities to support what you're doing. I wanted to hear before we close out here, what your thoughts are on equity crowdfunding and or Kickstarter if traditional fundraising isn't delivering what you need when you need it.
Yeah, that's actually something that I've been deeply exploring, and something that I've always believed in, because I also think of employees or people that come and work with us as investors, that instead of giving money, they're giving their their energy and their talent, and that is just as valuable as the cash, right? And when you and the idea of building up a fan base and a community around this title and around the types of games that we want to make, and having people be so passionate about it that they want to invest, or giving them a vehicle to be able to invest and participate, not only to help us, but also then to reap the rewards of our success later on. Like, that is super, super appealing. So we've been doing an evaluation of all the different crowdfunding platforms. I've talked to Start Engine, I've talked to Dealmaker, talked to WeFunder, talked to Kickstarter, and actually have helped run some Kickstarter campaigns, some successful, some not. And the hard part is that many of them take money, because you still need advertising money. You still need to get ahead.
Yeah.
And every platform has its own benefits and detriments. But the thing that I find really compelling about it is to be able to open up the doors to, gamers who want to be able to support in some way, but they don't know how. And say, like, hey, like, be a part of this company, be a partial owner of this company, and help us make this, dream for all of us a reality. I love to see it, and I wish it was a more sustainable model, and I wish venture didn't look down on it as much as it did.
It's jealousy. It makes the traditional venture capital model obsolete, or at least ineffective / inefficient.
Kickstarter is tough.
Go ahead.
Kickstarter is tough because of like how much marketing it takes and how much prep work it takes.
For sure, Kickstarter.
And now it's so competitive, and not all of us can be a Stormgate.
They already had a finished game and raised tens of millions of dollars beforehand. But yes, not everybody for sure can do that.
Exactly. And the advice that I've been getting is to still raise my seed round. We're raising 4.8 to be able to get Haven to market, to raise that seed round, and then with that seed money develop more so that we could get to a point of where a Kickstarter or a crowdfund would be more viable, because we're afraid of people seeing our prototype. I mean, there are some folks that are more judgy than others. See our prototype and they're like, "What's up with these? With these graphics?" And I'm like, it's kind of by design.
Prototype,
but
it says it at the top of the screen when you click to play prototype.
Yes.
The reason I ask is that I've been following your journey for quite some time now, and I believe that you have a strong community of gaming industry professionals who support you and what you're trying to do and your team and your success. And I think they would financially support. Everyone can't, because obviously 30,000 people out of our industry have been laid off for the last 2 years. But those who haven't been, I think would support you. And then I also believe that gamers want to have a financial upside in this passion of theirs, that they're constantly investing their time and money. And very few game studios offer that, other than saying, like, if you want to give us your money, that's fine. You're not going to get anything in return, but the entertainment experience. And that's okay. But I think there are some gamers who want more. And then I think that there are parents, myself included, who play video games, and just as we've talked about in this conversation, would financially support something like that. So I did a WeFunder campaign. It was only for $50,000 for my esports platform. And because of that, I have some connections there. Happy to have conversation with you there. I think that, if I make a referral, that there, I think, might be marketing dollars either there or with Start Engine, because I'm a scout for Start Engine. I have to go back and check, because I haven't had those conversations in forever. but there are benefits that my referrals create for people who want to go that route. So if that's helpful, I'd be happy to help you with that.
That would be incredible. Thank you. That's awesome.
You're welcome. I believe in this. I believe in this strongly, and thank you for your time this evening. As we close this episode out, can you let people know where they can find you, where they can support you in the studio and your team?
Yes. So the big thing is that every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern and 11 a.m. Pacific, we stream our game. We play it, and we get a new guest every week to play our game, give us feedback, and you can see what it's like to play through Haven and play through our prototype. And I always give a kind of a company update because I, keep the community involved as if they are investors. So, if you are interested, you're invested and you are an investor. So, that's the way I view it. So come and find us either on Twitch at twitch.tv/unleashinggames, or on YouTube. You can find us. I think that our handle on YouTube is Unleashed GG.
Okay.
If so, and obviously you can find us on LinkedIn as well, at Unleashed Games, and find us there. If you subscribe to our channel, like any of our social media pages, you can find us on X too, but I don't like to point people in that direction.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah. But it's become a really dirty pool, and nobody's, bleached the algae out in a long, long time. Nobody wants to swim there. Right. But please do find us, pandering, like and subscribe, because it's really those numbers that really get the algorithm going. And we'd love for you to join in and watch our journey as we continue to build Haven and unleash realms.
Excellent. Well, one more parting thought. I think it would be cool, instead of necessarily raising the whole 4.3, if you could raise something less, like 1.5 or so, through an equity crowdfunding, and get a build that you could then demo to publishers. Because especially if you're raising that from gamers, like people who are investing but also playing, not only do you get the dollars, but you can then go to publishers and say, hey, we built this alpha or pre-alpha, and here are our engagement stats with the pre-alpha. And I think that increases the likelihood that you might sign a publishing deal. And then there are some downsides to that, but there are some upsides as well.
For sure. And that's something that we're considering. We're actually talking about raising a smaller $800,000 bridge round right now, to get us to that friends and family alpha, so that we can actually have numbers with retention. And it doesn't take much. And then we can walk into GDC next year with a much, much stronger position and own the place.
Excellent. Well, I think that's a winning combination, or a winning recipe. So if and when you're ready to have that conversation, let's have that conversation. I have a second conversation with you also offline about just supporting your efforts to reduce toxicity in the gaming industry. I don't know if you've seen, for 3 years now, I've been championing that. So I think there's some opportunities in a couple of companies that I'd like to introduce you to. But it's late, so maybe that's a conversation we have for tomorrow or next week. I respect that you're also on the East Coast, and it is close to 10:30. So Irina, thank you so much for your time. I hope you had a blast. This has been a ton of fun for me and everyone who joined. Mario, I'm sure, will watch the rest of this later. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you all for joining us for this episode. We will see you again next Thursday for the Level Up Your Wealth podcast. Have a great weekend. Peace.
Have a great weekend. Bye.